In 2016, Yo Gotti told us it goes down in the DM. In 2023, for South Carolina fans pining after Jonathan Paylor, it's going down in the message boards.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Wolfpack, free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, I'm Grayson Boone. Joining me is Kenton Gibbs from Charlotte down at the ACC kickoff. Kenton's down there right now. I'll be joining him on Thursday for NC State's portion of the week. But Kenton, how was day one real quick?
You know, these teams are very interesting, meeting all the players and coaches, doing my duties for Locked On ACC and whatnot. But everybody knows I'm waiting for Thursday.
Yeah.
I'm waiting to see my man Grayson. I'm waiting to see Coach Doran. I'm waiting to see Brennan Armstrong. I'm waiting to see Aiden White and the ever so talented Mr. Peyton Wilson. I'm waiting for him. I'm chomping at the bit to get there.
Well, we're gonna tied over a little bit. We got to talk about a couple things before we can get to Thursday, but I want to start with talking about Jonathan Paylor. Of course, he was a hot topic for us just last week. I have some additional news to be putting out here. South Carolina fans are getting very worried, and worried so much to think that, listen, message boards, they kind of are what they are. They are a space for mainly negativity. We understand this, but South Carolina fans are looking like they have maybe, if not have already lost the battle, have quickly begun to lose the battle for Jonathan Paylor. And this came across just the other day, but couple fans just, mentioned here in this screenshot, but I saw a couple crystal balls tossed in by Corey Smith and Michael Clark of Pack Pride. I believe that was either Saturday or Sunday. I'll pull that up right here. Just mentioning, as we get closer and closer to this commitment date of August 5th for Jonathan Paylor, it sure looks like NC State's kind of turning the tide here.
Those folks from Big Spur are worried. There's concern. There's trembling. There's shaking. There's smoke, which means there's some fire. I'll tell you this. It is great to move closer to the date and see that things are trending in a more positive direction. But even beyond that, this is a situation where I think that Paylor, in terms of him committing, is not just the deal here. I think it's also his ability to recruit as an individual who has talked multiple times about, hey, NC State's got some good things going on. If we can get something going offensively, if we can be the weapons that add in, talking about himself and other recruits to the program, then we can do something special. And that tells me that this young man sees the high-level view. He's not just in the weeds thinking, I'm going to come in and do everything I can to get a win. He's saying, hey, listen, we come in together, make this happen, make something good happen here, and we'll build something special. So I like it.
Yeah, it's an interesting point there because I've seen kind of the thought is that South Carolina is going to do their very best to duke it out with us by means of NIL. And I feel like in my mind, if South Carolina, if that's kind of all they have to fall back on, that to me feels like we have already turned Paylor's head in terms of virtually everything else, in terms of program culture, his playing time once getting here. And then, yes, his ability to also recruit other guys to come with him. And I do think that is a major portion of this development here, because again, we've also talked a lot about Terrell Anderson, who has been heavily favored to pick NC State as well, but haven't really heard a whole lot from Terrell Anderson the last couple weeks. It'd be hard to think anything other than, these two are probably linked, and you could very well see them as a package deal here maybe just next week.
I want to talk about that NIL piece for a second because I've talked to some folks privately about NIL and how it's affecting where players are going and all that. And I'm going to say this. If you're not talking about a guy that is expected to be one of the top 5 to 10 players on your roster, you're not looking at significant NIL money. Even at the big boys, even at the schools where you think, oh yeah, their collective is collecting $1 million a year, or whatever the case may be. Okay. Now go with me. Let's break that down. You think how many guys on the basketball team need to get paid, right? At least 3?
Probably, 2 or 3.
How good your basketball team is, you're looking at anywhere from 2 to 4 there, okay? So let's be really aggressive and help out and say only 2 players from the basketball team are getting paid. And then you go to the football team. Well, if your quarterback's a proven commodity, they're always going to have the highest salary or the highest amount of NIL there. And then you look at, are there any superstars defensively or offensively outside the quarterback position? And then you get to, well, this player is good. They've shown some promise, and we probably need to throw a little bag to keep them. And then after all that, you get down to, all right, this is a freshman who's not a 5-star, who's not the guy that we look at as he's going to turn this program around by coming, but he should be a good addition. That's after the 5-star guy, the guy that's supposed to be, when he comes, the program is totally different just by him existing in the space. So if we're talking NIL, and don't get me wrong, I think Paylor is a very good player. I think having him in your program very much so positively impacts you. I hope that he turns out to be a program changer for the better. I hope so. He's not expected to be that. I don't think Doran is hanging his hat on, hey, if Paylor comes, he's going to be the guy that he's going to be the commit that we look back and say, this is why we won conference championships and national championships, because Jonathan came.
Yeah, I mean, probably him by himself, no. I've seen a common comparison drawn to Jonathan Paylor is Nyheim Hines. There seems to be a lot of Nyheim Hines in his game tape, at least, I mean, from what I've seen as well. They move similar. They have that ridiculous agility. They can play a multitude of positions, running back, or you could spread them out wide as a wide receiver, possibly in the slot. The possibilities are endless. But yeah, I think a player like a Jonathan Paylor here, I think a lot of his value, in addition to what he can do on the field, is that players are going to want to play with him. And so while he might not be a groundbreaking player when it's all said and done, the influence that he can bring with him to bring other players into the program is a massive factor here. And so, yeah, I mean, that is a big deal to be watching here. And kind of recapping what we talked about last week, Jonathan will be attending the major recruiting weekend for NC State coming up this weekend. It's taking place on Friday, the Alpha Wolf Showcase. Several commits will be there, including Jonathan Paylor. So, yeah, this is probably our last kind of sales pitch to see if we can get him in the red and white as opposed to the garnet and black. I guess they're doing a lot more black down there in South Carolina now. But, yeah, I mean, this is you cannot overstate how big of an opportunity this is for NC State to, land a massive recruiting win, and it could turn into many more wins as well.
Absolutely, 100% agree there.
All right, we're going to kick it to our sponsors for today. That is LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. It helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. They use simple tools like screening questions, and make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rank LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. So what you need to do is go over to linkedinjobs.com/lockedoncollege. You'll see that at the bottom of our screen. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. All right. And Kenton, next here, kind of news that came across on this Tuesday. we've added another assistant coach to the men's basketball team. This is Mike Roberts joining us. His last stop was with Cincinnati, but he's been in the game a very, very long time. And ultimately, I think this is a great addition to Coach Keats' squad here on the coaching staff. I'll just briefly read through his coaching history. Began as a grad assistant at Texas Tech from 2005, 2006, then moved out to California, was with the Cal Bears from 06 to 08, had a 4-year stop at Rice, 2008 to 2012, and then he was a associate head coach at UNCG from 2012 to 2019, spent a lot of time there. Of course, ran into him, with them being just in Greensboro. Had a couple close calls with Greensboro as well before he headed out to Indiana, which he is a graduate of Indiana University. He spent 2 years there, 2019 to 2021, and then the past 2 seasons was an assistant coach with Cincinnati. The growing sentiment here is that he's a defensive-minded coach, and I think this comes at a perfect time for NC State because a lot of the gripes over the last couple of years has been we've seen seemingly focused just offensively, and defense is just kind of whatever we can throw out there at them. So to get a defensive-minded coach here that comes from a blue blood school like in Indiana feels like a massive win, and it feels like the team will immediately get better.
We talk about the fact that there were times where if we couldn't generate a turnover, we couldn't generate a stop. And even beyond that, we talk about the fact that our transfers, a vast majority of them are known for filling it up. You know what I mean? Outside of the young man from Butler, Jaden Taylor, outside of him, there are not guys who are marquee for their defense in this class so much in terms of the transfer portal. With that being said, having a defensive specialist, having a coach that is great at teaching you how to get down in the stands, that's going to be immensely valuable for this team. There's no understating how valuable that's going to be for this Wolfpack team going forward.
Yeah, and so, you hear Coach Keats talk a lot about he drives the point home and he wants his defense to force a lot of deflections and force a lot of turnovers. And last year they did do a lot of that. And I had a sweeping generalization there. I'd say probably the last 6 to 8 years of NC State basketball, there's been a lot of points where our defense just feels like we haven't gone over anything and just all the focus, it's seemingly on the offense. Right. And while that can only take you so far, adding a coach here like Mike Roberts to the folds, yeah, you add a ton of experience. He's well-traveled, and you add that blue blood background. Of course, I mentioned he was a basketball player at Indiana. He played for Coach Knight in Indiana. So, he gets it honest. He learned from the best. And so we need every bit of that here because, we've talked a lot about it here the past couple months. This feels like one of the most important seasons upcoming for NC State in a very long time. It feels like we have so many pieces and a lot of talent. There's a lot of gelling that has to take place there, make sure the pieces are in the right place. But adding an experienced coach to this mix, it feels like it's a massive step in a lot of on-court success, we hope.
And defense is much more about connectedness than offense. Like, objectively speaking, on offense, if you can just get to your spot and hit your shot, you've done well. Defensively, everybody has to be connected, talking, understanding each other, knowing what's going on in terms of, hey, you got a man setting the pick. Hey, we're going to blitz this thing, or we're going to hedge it, or we're going to go under and play it soft. We're going to go over and make sure that we cut off their right hand or left hand or whatever the case may be. Those assignments are talked about in pregame, but you also need to have a coach in that room like this coach that we're talking about that is going to bring that defensive edge and intensity to make sure that everybody's talking and connected, to make sure, hey, we know that you can fill it up. We bought you in because you can fill it up, but this is a bonus to add to your game that the NBA will be salivating on.
Absolutely. And yeah, you bring in guys like like an MJ Rice or the big power forward from Missouri or a Middlebrooks from Clemson, these bigger body guys, bring in a defensive minded guy to hone their craft. It's only going to make all of us better. Not just the players individually, but team defense, that pack mentality. That could be a massive upgrade in, the interim heading into the season. And, just a couple of months. Here we are in July. They're going to start warming up here to get ready to go here in October. It feels like a great addition here as we're nearing the end of the summer. And something else I want to mention, because my initial thought was, okay, well, we added a coach. Does that mean somebody has left us? The answer to that question is no. I actually did not even know this until this article from NC State basketball. But in January, the NCAA Division I Board of Directors voted to allow 2 more assistant coaches on men's basketball staff. So there is no coach departing us. So this is just simply, a benefit to this new rule. And we immediately land probably a big fish in terms of assistant coaches at this point of the year. So certainly excited to have Mike Roberts here as a part of the Wolfpack, and definitely want to see what he can do on the defensive side of the basketball. I think you're muted.
Oh, I said I 1,000% agree. I 1,000% agree. I want to see what this team can do with some more defensive intensity, with that intensity ratchet up. And so, like I said, some of these guys who are known for filling it up. You combine those two things, that's what the game is all about. Putting the ball in the basket, stopping other guys from doing that. And so, this pickup here, it could have very long-lasting, very positive effects on this program.
Absolutely. All right. Well, stick with us. We're going to land this thing after a quick word from our sponsors. All right. Last word for us here on Wednesday. Kenton, you're down in Charlotte for the ACC kickoff of day 2 on Wednesday. Of course, we're very excited to be there together on Thursday for NC State's piece, portion of the week. Have you been thinking about some things that you're, interested in hearing from Coach Dorn or hearing from the players just in general?
Oh, absolutely. The separation is in the preparation. I've already got a list of questions planned out for these guys and all that. And so, I'm ready to talk some NC State football with these guys. I'm absolutely ready to do so whenever they are. But, of course, I know rules and regulations and all that, and we'll be seeing them Thursday. So I'm excited for it. In terms of talking about the future of this program, where they are now, what they were working on, what they are, shocked by or was not surprised about this team, or how they're shocked the world going forward.
Yeah, it's the changing of this week kind of hit me all at once. ACC Media Week for football is this week. I'm like, we really are this close to football now. We're nearly a month away from our first game up at UConn. And it's happening super fast. I know they begin fall practice start next week, if I'm not mistaken. Is it Tuesday?
Yep, I believe so.
Yeah. August 1st? Yeah, August 1st is next week, folks. That's how close football is. So certainly salivating at, hearing all the thoughts, the preseason thoughts from the NC State guys down in Charlotte. We'll be bringing as much of this to you as we possibly can, hopefully securing, as much time as we're allowed with the players and with Coach Dorn, certainly bringing as much as we can to you all. But that's going to do it for us here on Wednesday. A little bit of a shorter episode, but we're hoping to make up for that with some behind the scenes things from ACC kickoff down in Charlotte. But as always, thank you for tuning in. Drop us that like, drop us some comments on, maybe the arrival of Mike Roberts in Raleigh, how you think he'll be a difference maker, defensive side of the ball, and keep those comments about Jonathan Paylor. If you think that we're going to pull this off, it could be a very big deal. So let us know what you think. Mash that subscribe button, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Go Pack.
Go Pack.